Have you ever loved someone who, the more you tried to understand them, the more it felt like you were talking to a mirror that could speak, one that reflected your emotions but never truly responded with sincerity? You cried. You gave your all. Yet all you received in return was cold indifference and deceit that made you doubt your own worth. And then one day you just stopped wanting to talk. Not because you were weak, but because you finally understood arguing with someone who only listens to win is pointless. So, you chose silence. No messages, no explanations, just a quiet withdrawal, gentle, yet powerful enough to shake the world they thought they controlled. Because silence is not escape, it is the rebellion of a soul that was once manipulated. And here's the irony: when you go silent, the narcissist begins to panic. They cannot bear your absence, because your silence is like a mirror that no longer reflects them. They will try everything: an old song, a vague post, a nostalgic photo, just to see if you will still react. But what they don't realize is that your silence is the loudest voice of all, one that makes them wonder, why isn't she reacting this time? And that is the moment when the power begins to shift. In today's video, we'll explore 5 things a narcissist secretly hopes for when you go silent, because to them, your silence isn't peace. It's the greatest threat to their fragile ego. My dear friends, after you choose silence, after you walk away without a single explanation, something fascinating, and at the same time deeply revealing, begins to happen inside the mind of a narcissist. They are not calm, nor at peace, as they appear to be. Beneath that mask of cold indifference lies a quiet storm. They begin to calculate, to imagine, and most of all, to hope. And now, let's talk about the first thing they hope for when you go no contact. They hope you'll be the one to break the silence. In their world, a breakup never truly means the end. It's merely a paused chess game, one in which they still believe they hold the upper hand. In their distorted perception, you didn't walk away out of exhaustion or pain. You're simply testing them to see if they care. They think, she'll text back, he won't last long, or just wait, they'll come back. They see your silence not as a boundary, but as a temporary test. So when you don't speak, don't react, don't show up anywhere, they don't feel loss, they feel challenge. Inside the narcissist's mind, they are the center of every emotional orbit. They convince themselves that you're still watching, that your silence is just another tactic to get their attention. And if you've ever broken no contact before, even once, even with a single text, a soft apology, or a brief return, they store that memory as permanent proof that you'll always come back. To them, you're already programmed to return. It's only a matter of waiting long enough. So they wait, but not in sadness, in strategic anticipation. They imagine you sitting alone, staring at your phone, fighting the urge to send that message. They believe you can't stand the emptiness, that eventually you'll tear down the wall of silence you built yourself. And to speed things up, they begin to throw out bait: a nostalgic photo, a vague social media post, a message passed through a mutual friend. None of it is real connection, it's emotional manipulation designed to test your reaction, to see if you'll still take the hook. But what they don't understand is this. This time, you are different. Your silence no longer comes from fear, it comes from awareness. You're not quiet because you want them to speak, but because you've finally learned that words mean nothing to someone who only listens to win. While they wait for you to break, you're learning how to stand, how to breathe again in the peace they could never give you. To them, silence is temporary. But to you, it's a declaration, the final one. A statement that they no longer hold power in your emotional world. And the thing that terrifies them the most is not your anger, not your tears, but your lack of reaction. Because in the narcissist's world, they only exist when there is an audience. And when you're no longer their audience, the performance ends, the lights go out, and they're left facing the one thing they've run from their entire lives, the emptiness within themselves. When they realize that you're still silent, no messages, no reactions, no appearances, another wave begins to rise within their mind. At this point, the narcissist shifts from waiting to imagining. They start telling themselves a new story. an illusion that helps them believe they're still important. And that is the second thing they hope for when you go no contact. They hope you're suffering. To them, if you're doing well, if you can laugh, sleep peacefully, or appear calm, it means they no longer have power over you. And power, for a narcissist, is their very lifeline. So they need to believe you're still in pain. They want to imagine you feeling lonely, tormented, staring at your phone waiting for their message. They picture you staying up late, reading old texts, checking their social media from a hidden account, or replaying songs you once listened to together. In their mind, all of this is proof that you never truly left. Their ego feeds on that image. Because if you're still hurting, they still matter. If you still remember, they still exist in your world. They need your pain. As evidence of their importance, your suffering becomes their validation, a way to measure their own worth. But what they cannot accept is your peace. When you stop searching, stop reacting, stop caring to them, it's nothing short of an insult. It means they've lost the starring role in your story. And nothing wounds their ego more than being erased from the script they once directed. That's when they begin to rewrite reality. They tell themselves or others things like, "She's just pretending to be strong," or "He's only acting fine," or "It's just a facade deep down." They're still broken. They can't fathom that you've truly healed, so they construct a new illusion to protect themselves from the terror of being forgotten. Ironically, while they picture you crying in silence at night, they're the ones who can't sleep. They stalk your social media, scrutinize every photo, read every caption, desperate to find signs that you're still thinking of them. And when they find nothing, panic sets in. Because your silence, something so simple, echoes in their mind like a hollow room with no sound. To them, it's not silence, it's the disappearance of energy. They were once used to being forgiven, noticed, and emotionally fed by you. Now, they're faced with something unfamiliar, true indifference. And that indifference hurts them more than any argument ever could, because for the first time, they no longer have control. That is the bitter paradox of a narcissist. They need your pain to feel significant, but the moment you stop hurting, you become a mirror reflecting the emptiness within them. So if you found peace, if you're rediscovering yourself, remember this: your calmness terrifies them more than your hatred ever could. Because in their world, your pain means they exist. Your happiness means they've died in your mind. And when they can no longer see your reaction, no longer believe you're suffering, they move into the next phase of their psychological game. This time, they stop waiting for you to speak or imagining your pain. They begin to perform. They want you to still be watching. For a narcissist, your attention is like oxygen. They don't need love, they just need to be seen. When they can no longer feel your energy, they'll do anything to provoke that gaze to return. Suddenly, they become suspiciously positive, posting travel photos, showing off a new partner, writing deep, philosophical captions, or pretending to be so happy it almost looks forced. They're not actually living that life, they're performing it for you. In their mind, being seen means being significant. Every post, every word, every smile is calculated like a camera shot in a movie, one in which they are both the main actor and the director, and you are the only audience they care to impress. They crave your reaction, a like, a story view, even an accidental click. To them, if you look, they win. The irony is, they'll post pictures they never shared with you before, visit places they once called boring, and act more joyful than you've ever seen. Not because they've changed, but because they want to create the illusion that they're thriving without you. They want you to question yourself. Was I the problem? Maybe he just wasn't right for me? Could it be that she's truly happy now? But you must understand that isn't real happiness. It's a carefully crafted act. Narcissists don't live to feel, they live to be witnessed. They don't savor moments, they collect attention. And when you're silent, they can't stand the emptiness of having no audience. They need a stage, and if you're no longer standing there, they'll rebuild the lights, start the cameras, and perform just for you from afar. They'll start playing roles, the happy one, the successful one, the one who has moved on. They know exactly how to stir regret in you, perhaps by posting a photo holding someone's hand or writing a caption like, "Sometimes you have to lose someone to learn how to love right." Every detail is designed to make you question and torment yourself. Maybe I really did lose someone amazing. But pause for a moment and look closely, because in all those pictures, what they're truly searching for isn't joy, it's your eyes. Every post, every accidental smile, every spontaneous trip sends one message. Look at me. Remember I still exist. See me happy so you'll think you were wrong. And if you react even slightly, they'll take it as proof that you haven't let go. A single story view, a polite comment, a short message, what might feel like simple courtesy to you becomes, to them, confirmation that they still matter. In psychology, this is called emotional baiting, a manipulation tactic. They throw out small emotional hooks, a post, a picture, a quote, and wait to see if you bite. The goal isn't reconnection, it's visibility. Because in their mind, as long as you're still watching, thinking, or reacting, they're still alive in your world. And perhaps the greatest irony lies here. While they're busy crafting illusions of a new life, you in your silence and calm are the one actually living. No matter how brightly they shine on the outside, they're only running from the darkness within, the one they can't face when no one's watching. And when they finally realize their performance no longer moves you, when you don't text, don't envy, don't react, they switch tactics. If they can't pull you back with charm, they'll try to pull you back with guilt. Which leads us to the next thing they secretly hope for when you go no contact. They want you to feel guilty and start doubting yourself. This is the stage where a narcissist often reveals their most sophisticated form of emotional manipulation. When they can no longer control you through attention, they'll try to regain access through pity. They start telling tearful stories about how they are the abandoned victim, the person who loved deeply but was treated coldly. And the frightening part is they rarely say these things directly to you. Instead, they spread them subtly through mutual friends, family members, or social media. Because for them, manipulation isn't an action, it's an art of emotional diffusion. They plant tiny seeds of guilt not just in others, but inside you. So when you accidentally hear someone say things like, "He told me he just wants to talk again," or "She's been so sad since you left," you start to waver. You begin to ask yourself, was I too cold? Did I really hurt them that much? Maybe I should have given them another chance? And at that very moment they win. Because the second you start doubting your boundaries, they find the crack that allows them back in. A narcissist knows your greatest vulnerability, your empathy. They know you always want to understand, to heal, to avoid causing pain. So they use your own kindness as the key to reopen the door you once locked. And if guilt alone isn't enough, they'll move on to rewriting history. They cherry-pick memories, reminding you of warm moments, sweet messages, and those dreamlike days they created during the love-bombing phase. They'll say half-truths like, "I know I'm not perfect, but at least I was genuine. You once said you'd never give up on me, remember? I still remember the way you smiled when I held you for the first time." These aren't real apologies, they're emotional triggers. Words designed to reactivate nostalgia and soften your defenses. When they bring up the good times, you start idealizing the relationship again, forgetting the moments of disrespect, the lonely nights, the tears that were dismissed. In psychology, this is known as post-breakup gaslighting, when the manipulator confuses you so deeply that you begin to doubt your own memories. Soon, you find yourself questioning yourself instead of them. You replay the beautiful memories and think, maybe they weren't that bad, or maybe I was too harsh. But here's the truth, if you were truly the one at fault, you wouldn't have had to walk away with a heart torn to pieces. The guilt they've planted inside you isn't born from love, it's born from control. The irony is this: they know you live by emotion, while they live by domination. And when they can no longer control your heart, they'll try to control your mind. They'll make you forget the truth, drowning you in an edited highlight reel of the relationship, one where they are the misunderstood hero, and you are the one who was too strong, too distant, too cold. But remember this: When someone truly feels remorse, they don't speak in half-truths. They don't need an audience, they don't need friends to act as messengers, and they certainly don't need to play the victim just to regain attention. Only those who are not ready to face the truth feel the need to rewrite the story to hide the one thing they will never admit. I was wrong, and I lost them because of me. And when all emotional manipulation, guilt-tripping, and staged performances no longer move you when you're truly silent, truly calm, they begin to unleash their final move. The last thing a narcissist hopes for when you go no contact. They want you to come back seeking answers from them. This is the most sophisticated final act in a narcissist's arsenal, one that preys on the human need for understanding and closure. They know you're introspective, analytical, and someone who seeks resolution before you can truly let go. So, they deliberately leave without clarity, no explanations, no real ending. They leave behind a trail of unanswered questions. Why did they change so suddenly? Was any of it ever real? What did I do to make them become like that? They know exactly how those questions will haunt you, how, night after night, your mind will replay every detail, searching for logic in chaos. And as long as you still want to understand, as long as you still crave an explanation, you're emotionally connected to them. That's all they need. Not love, not understanding, but the invisible thread of attention. As long as you're still wondering, they still have space in your mind. As long as you don't have answers, they still control the narrative. And so, one day, they return not with an apology, but with something vague and familiar. I just want to explain one last time. I've been thinking a lot. Maybe we should talk. I owe you an explanation. These words sound sincere, gentle, even mature, but they're not meant to bring closure, they're meant to reopen the channel. They have no intention of giving you clarity. They want to pull you back into another emotional loop. They know that if you agree to meet, if you listen, if you give them the space to explain, you'll get caught in the same cycle again, half-truths, confusion, more questions, and just like that, the power shifts back to them. Because, to a narcissist, closure is not something they give, it's something they withhold to maintain control. They never want the story to truly end, because once it ends, their role disappears too. So, they always leave a door slightly open, a trace of ambiguity to keep you from moving forward, forgetting, and fully healing. In psychology, this is called breadcrumbing, dropping small crumbs of emotion to keep you following, believing that answers are coming, when in fact, it's an endless loop. And the narcissist, who understands the mind of someone who once loved them deeply, uses that as a leash to pull you back. They might say things like, "I just don't want you to misunderstand. I only want to say this so you can feel at peace." But in truth, the peace they seek isn't yours, it's their own. They can't stand the idea of you walking away without looking back. So they create a reason to make you pause. The cruel irony is that you walk into that conversation hoping for truth, but what you get is more circular talk, contradictions, and illusions. Because narcissists don't give closure, they prolong the wound. And when you walk away again, they know you'll lose sleep, overthink, and search for answers once more, and that means they still exist in your mind. But remember this. You don't need answers from someone who deliberately caused your pain. The real answer isn't in their words, it's in their actions. And when you finally look at the truth, you'll realize that their silence was the explanation all along. And when you finally understand that no answer is worth going back for, that's the moment you're truly free. All the things they hoped for, that you'd hurt, that you'd miss them, that you'd return, vanish the moment you choose silence, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Because your silence isn't weakness, it is healing, and the deepest form of freedom. You no longer need them to explain, to apologize, or to give you closure. Because true closure never comes from the one who hurt you. It comes from the moment you stop searching for reasons and start finding yourself again. When you hold your boundaries firm. When you no longer react to emotional bait. You are declaring something incredibly powerful. You no longer have the right to define my emotions. And that is what the narcissist fears the most. They don't fear losing you, they fear losing control. They don't fear your silence, they fear your peace. Because when you are at peace, they are no longer the center. When you no longer react, they are no longer in control. And when you smile without needing to prove anything, the illusion they built begins to crumble. Your silence is not the end, it is the beginning. The beginning of learning to stand firm within your own inner world without needing validation, without needing to be understood. The beginning of reclaiming your worth, placing it back where it has always belonged, inside you, not in anyone else's gaze. So if you are walking that path today, remember this: you owe no one an explanation. You don't need to prove that you're okay. And you are not weak just because your heart once believed the wrong person. All you need is to keep choosing peace over reaction, self-respect over pity, and freedom over entanglement. Because every time you don't text back, don't look back, don't get pulled back, you reclaim another piece of power they once took from you. And with time, you'll realize you never truly lost them. Because the person you thought you lost never really existed. They were an illusion, built from their need for control. But you are the reality of resilience. Keep that silence like a shield, not to hide, but to protect your energy. Because in the end, when you stop chasing someone else's explanations, you begin to hear your own truth. And in that quiet, you'll finally hear the one thing they could never understand. I chose myself, and that is the only answer I ever needed.